Hi guys. Hello. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Good to see you, all of you. I hope you are very well, and I hope you. Hi Yasa. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you. Good,
Okay.
good, thank you. Good.
Great. I hope you all had a nice week, and we are finally approaching this weekend. Hopefully not so windy here in the UK, since it's blowing a very strong wind. I don't know in your area, but here in London, especially where I'm based, which is probably the higher part of London, the wind is very strong these days. So anyway, we will enjoy a good weekend. Today will be the last session for this week, and also the last session for this series corporate webinar in HR, but there will be for sure new sessions and new interesting topics to discuss. What we will discuss today is of utmost relevance, especially for the labor market dynamics, business dynamics, and factor involving every one of us. We will talk about HR analytics and well-being. So two topics considerable at the core of HR functions today. So we will treat these topics separately, but they have a strong connection. Indeed, today HR professionals are called to make large, massive use of data and data analysis, also in order to address a well-being related issue within organization, especially because of the events characterizing the business landscape in the last months. So let's dive through these two interesting topics. I will share my screen with you. Here we go. If you have some issue in seeing the screen, just type a message in the chat box. I will fix the chat box, so I will arrange it in a way that I can see it throughout the webinar. Just 1 second. Let me just fix my screen. Can you all see the screen and hearing me as well? Can you please just give me a confirmation? Can you see the screen, Emma? Sharing?
Yes, I can see you. Thank you.
Perfect, Emma. Thank you very much. I hope you are well.
Thanks.
Great. So let's go through our slides. Format of the session will be the usual. So we have a break around 6, more or less, within 1 hour, 50 minutes, 1 hour, a Q&A session before. Probably today HR analytics will take a bit longer, but I don't know. I think more or less the time frame will be the same. So analytics and HR. Let's give a little bit of background about analytics in itself and what analytics, HR analytics stands for. Let's outline the relation between HR and analytics approach and the situation, the general situation within the HR practices related to this topic. First, we all know that we live in a world data-driven, and HR management, particularly HR management as a business value chain activity, is often questioned in terms of contribution, tangible contribution, and evidence of HR practice contribution within the overall organizational performance. So within the HR field, it is today particularly required to be evidence-based. HR analytics, in order to espouse this approach, HR analytics is considered the crucial aspect in order to make HR initiatives evidence-based, in order to attribute these fundamental characteristics to our initiatives, our decision-making process, our activities. Therefore, as a first instance, HR professionals need to know how to master organizational data, since organizational data or workforce data or people data represent the key source for an evidence-based approach. So as HR professional, we are called to master workforce data, people data, or HR data, also known as organizational data. The reality of the business landscape, despite the relevance of HR analytics, the reality of the business landscape today is showing that only a small part of organizations are making use of HR data and analytics within the strategic decision making process when it's about managing and developing workforce to deliver the business strategy. So there is a sort of reluctance, particularly stems from HR people, and we will see why. Part of this issue, indeed, depend on the fact that HR analytics is a relatively new matter. But there are other factors emerging from structural side, let's say the structural side of the business and HR capabilities that feeds this separation between HR and analytics. Let's say that HR analytics, in order to define what HR analytics stands for, HR analytics utilizes people data, so data coming from the workforce, a large array and data of various nature. These data are captured in HR and business systems to inform the development or improvement and intervention that lead to workforce enhancement and HR and business outcomes. So this is essentially what HR analytics does. Now, one of the mentioned issues in that hampers the integration and the embracement of HR analytics in HR practice is that HR professionals, generally speaking, lack of skills in business analytics and related matter like data science, statistics, probability, math, etc. Indeed, there is a traditional lack of orientation from HR people toward numerical matters. This is a general characteristic of HR people. And today we are called to deal with this orientation that generally as HR we show we have. This is a relevant issue for HR departments, generally speaking, especially within the today's business dynamics, because this, unfortunately, lack of use of data and analytics leads to lack of credibility of the HR functions as a whole. And this is what happens if we do not adapt our way of working to the emerging instances and the evolution of the practices. So if we don't embrace this matter within our day-to-day operation, within our in informing our almost any of our activities in order to make these activities evidence-based. Therefore, quantitative techniques and traditional philosophic approach, let's say, are the Achilles heel of HR professionals. So we have this kind of inclination that we have to work on in order to review our tendency, in order to be numerically oriented and analytically oriented when we carry out our job, especially because when we talk about HR analytics, we are talking about often strategic decisions. So decision particularly impacting on the results of the HR capabilities within the organization and the organization as a whole. So these are the kind of issue characterizing HR professional. Let's try to break down a little bit more what HR analytics is. Substantially, HR analytics is the use of workforce data to solve business problems or to inform processes as a part of strategic decisions. So this is HR analytics. We use workforce data, and based on this data, the analysis, the meaning, is not only about data, it's the use we do, it's the way we collect, it's what kind of data we collect, how do we process this data, how do we interpret this data, how do we manage this data. That makes the whole process in HR analytics. And then this data will be used to inform our strategic decision, or will be used to address particular issue identified within the workforce or from the senior manager, appointing HR to sort business pain, so-called business pain. HR analytics uses descriptive, visual, and statistical methods all together in order to interpret workforce data and inform the strategic decision. So these are three aspects of HR analytics: descriptive, visual, and statistical methods. We will go through them soon. Now, why is people analytics or HR analytics, the same meaning, so important for organization? There are the list of advantages is countless, probably, but let's say that HR analytics enables evidence-based decision, as we said, within strategic HR functions. And through HR analytics, HR professionals or departments provide their key stakeholders with critical workforce information related to key areas such as performance of workforce, their well-being, alignment of the HR strategy and the outcome deriving from the HR strategy with the business strategy. All of this is not made, by words, but supported by evidence coming from numerical aspect, statistical aspect. This is why human resource analytics is getting of this importance, is gaining this level of importance with the organization. Organization don't want anymore listening, word. They want to see facts. They want to, when we sit in a around a board, or we work alongside as a business partner, the senior management, in order to translate the business strategy to HR strategy. Now discussion are getting much more, concrete around these tables. It is no longer about hypotheses, without substantial and proven background. Now it's about numbers. Now it's about giving number. Now it's about motivating decision. Now it's about proving why we are doing so, what kind of results are expected based on what kind of assumptions. And this is why HR analytics is getting, so important. It's also a fundamental approach in investigating the ROI, the return on investment of HR activities. Companies are more and more asking HR departments to prove the return of activity, of investment of their activities. HR analytics helps in doing so, in investigating whether or not this return occurs. Therefore, this is determining that organizations are increasingly interested in developing HR analytics capabilities and the efficiency of HR analytics capabilities within organization. Therefore, as we said, HR analytics is a core factor of the evidence-based approach required in HR decision making today. Unfortunately, we risk to lack of credibility, reliability, whether we don't support, we don't accompany, we don't kind of create this background of numerical and objective evidence-based data together with our assumption, together with our suggestions, together with our recommendations in terms of carrying out our role as HR, especially at strategic level, but not only, we will see, not only at strategic level. We kind of highlighted that at the core of HR analytics, the data, of course, workforce data. But what workforce data are, and how do we classify, how do we understand the difference between human resource data or other kind of data? There are, first of all, there is a classification, which is a division in two kind of data according to the nature, and this relates any kind of data, namely quantitative or qualitative data. It is important, so let's start to understand this very basic difference in data, generally speaking, and workforce data. So HR data essentially is information concerning every employees related factor or HR information and management system. So every data coming from workforce and business as a whole, in a workforce related matter is considered HR data. As we said, data can have a different nature. And this is the main classification, namely the one dividing data in quantitative or quantitative according to their nature. HR data of quantitative nature are those measurable, like facts, information, and every data that can be expressed and measured through numbers. Those kind of data, they respond to questions like how many, how much. These are typically quantitative data. Now, why do we need to classify data? Why do we need to highlight this basic difference in order to, get into the HR analytics domain? Because it is particularly important since data, according to their nature, they have different characteristics and they are suitable or less suitable for specific purposes. For instance, main characteristics of quantitative data are that they are unbiased. They are number, they don't have biases. We are 10 people. So if we are 10 people, we are 10 people. It's not that I say, but I can say we are 10 people, 50% of which perform well, 50% less well. This is my opinion, is the interpretation, and is undoubtedly and inevitably biased. But when we talk about quantitative data, they are absolutely unbiased. So if we are 10 people, without stepping into judgment of qualitative aspect like skills or things like that, we are 10 people. If we are measuring how tall we are, I 1.76 m, that's it. Here in Australia, everywhere, my centimeter would be the same. Therefore, main characteristic of quantitative data is that they are unbiased and they are measurable. I can't measure how friendly I am, according to a common scale. If we say Sergio is quite friendly, but how much, what does it mean? For me, quite friendly may mean something, for another person something different. But if we say that Sergio is weight is 70 kilos, is 70 kilos everywhere, not only in the UK, not only, and there is an objective and measurable characteristics, and therefore factual. So they represent facts and an objective way. So these are the main characteristics of quantitative data, and these characteristics will lead to use those data for certain kind of data collection, data analysis, and they will result less suitable for other kind of research or data analysis, and we see more or less in which cases. Therefore, HR data of quantitative nature, let's give an example, number of employees, is the most basic example of HR data of quantitative nature. Remuneration rates, productivity, everything is measurable and is related to workforce and workforce life cycles, activities, and so on. Regarding qualitative data, conversely, they are not measurable, as we mentioned earlier. So information of qualitative nature are mostly subjective, and they derive from assessment and individual's point of view regarding facts or circumstances. So when we express quantitative data, they come from a process of interpretation which is related to our normal biases. Biases characterize everyone, the way we see ourselves, the way we see others, the way we see the world. They are determinants and influencing factors in our interpretation process that from which derives our qualitative, the expression of qualitative data. They respond, this kind of data, qualitative data, respond to questions like what, why, So these are the characteristics of qualitative data. Therefore, summarizing the nature of qualitative data, this kind of data are, first of all, differently, oppositely to quantitative data. They are, unfortunately, intrinsically biased. So the way I see something under the qualitative point of view is different from the way Emma or Kwasi or Yasser, Shane, Akash, they see something. So we are, unique, and how our uniqueness is kind of expressed in when we give our opinion of something, when we express things under the qualitative point of view. Therefore, this kind of data emerge from narrative, especially from narrative. Example of HR data of qualitative nature, employee opinions about within surveys or feedback, performance review. When we talk about performance review and the line manager describes performance and stuff, it's about interpretation. They are qualitative data. Job satisfaction, exit interviews, they are qualitative data feeding HR analytics processes. Regarding instead the way data are kept, organizations usually use different ways to manage HR data. Generally speaking, and also due to regulatory compliance, HR data should be managed by a appointed data owner that acts in line with data protection policy. So this is relevant, since in managing data, we are called to comply with regulation according to the position of the use we make of the data we collect. So the more these data process and analytics relates to crucial aspect, sensitive factor of the employees, the more this policy must be structured, and the more we are called to stricter compliance and kind of sometimes also bit complicated data management regulatory aspect. Now there are two aspects. I would like two elements. We described something quite basic in data analytics, which is nature of data and distinction between qualitative and quantitative data. I don't know. I wish you are already in the process of getting familiar or specialized in data management or some field related to data science or data analytics. But for sure, you will across this distinction, the distinction between the two elements characterizing analytics, generally speaking, business analytics or HR analytics, which is correlation and causation. And the difference between these two aspects extremely characterizing HR analytics process. So let's describe what causation and correlation are as a two basic aspects in distinguish one from another. At its core, we say that HR analytics strives to identify the potential cause and effect relationships occurring between two range or sets of data that are object of our investigation or interest. So when we carry out HR analytics processes, we are trying to identify cause-effect relationship between things, between events. This is at the end of our at the end of the day, what we are doing in HR analytics. We want to know if whether there is a potential cause effect between things, so that we can understand, we can describe, we can predict, we can act in advance, but in an informed way, not making prediction based on our guts or our feeling. Therefore, the ultimate goal is determining whether the identified relationship is of correlational or causal nature. So causal nature is different from casual. Is not a casual correlation, but causal is a causal. Sorry, not casual. So when we carry out HR analytics, we want to absolutely identify and determining whether there is correlation or causal relation. So let's therefore describe this difference between correlation and causal relation. Correlation occurs and concerns more than one thing or events happening at the same time, and that may be associated with each other. But regardless the association, they are not necessarily within a cause-effect relationship. So two things happen, two events happen, and they happen within a certain frequency, but it's not sure that these two things happen together because there is a cause-effect relationship. To understand the intensity of this relationship, which is what makes the difference between having a cause-effect relationship or not, or having a cause-effect relationship but of less degree of intensity. So to understand this intensity of the relationship between two or more events that we are analyzing, and therefore the predictability of these events based on the occurrence of this relationship, the relationship is measured. So we measure through analytics processes this relationship. But usually the value of correlation is expressed within a scale going from -1 to +1, where 0 means no relationship whatsoever, virtually. So we are assuming that virtually there is no relationship. When instead, where this value reach -1 or -1, we are in front of a fully predictive relationship. For example, if the result of our correlation is 0.01, the correlation between two events means that those events are virtually independent each other. So there is no correlation whatsoever, because it's so weak, the value of correlation, that it leads us to assume that these two events, they occur absolutely independently. There's no relation between them. Differently, supposing that our correlation would be 0.9, this allows us to believe predictability patterns derived from the relationship among the investigated events, two or more events. However, 0.9 doesn't mathematically means, doesn't absolutely means fully predictive relationship, which is only 1 or -1. But there are strong evidence and indication that there is a predictability patterns between these two or more events investigated. Regarding causation, instead, causation, on the other hand, is when one event and the occurrence of one event, so the event, the one of the 2 or more events that we are investigating, is determined. So it happens as a result of the occurrence of another event. So without the second one, the first one doesn't happen. This is causation. When an event, the occurrence of an event, determine by itself the occurrence of the second event, and without the first one, there is no the second. So this is causation. If the first event didn't happen, then the second doesn't, it doesn't take place. So what characterizes the nature of this correlation of or causation? Causation is not something of mathematical nature. Causation is something of time-based and of cause-effect nature. So something happens, something else happened as a result of the first event. In HR analytics, it's important to have ability in interpreting data and good and quantitative sufficient availability of data before we draw any conclusion. This is because, as we saw, 2 factors or events correlate with each other are not necessarily causally related. So, namely, one occurs as a consequence of another. Therefore, these 2 aspects, correlation and causation, are 2 principal factors in approaching HR analytics, and it's something that you, as a HR professional, and in approaching HR analytics, we deal with always in investigating the events from which you withdraw your conclusion, you will design your policies, you will suggest your board of directors of the needed initiatives and investments. So these are 2 main parameters, 2 main aspects in dealing with HR analytics: correlation and causation. Now, when we talk about HR analytics, in order to have a kind of let's say, exhaustive basic background of HR analytics. When we talk about HR analytics and HR analytics processes within an organization, we should consider that the meaning of HR data, is something that we already discussed together with the meaning of HR analytics. But the way HR analytics takes place within organization changes, since HR analytics is not used at the same level. So HR analytics is not, let's say, a kind of monolithic process, structurally speaking. Rather, there are different levels of HR analytics and HR analytics capability within organization. I can perform tasks responding to different scopes, different objectives through HR analytics. And this implies a different level and deepness of HR analytics process. This requires different skills, capabilities, specialization in HR analytics. The HR analytics activities performed essentially by almost every organization. We do analytics daily without even probably neither knowing that we are doing analytics, because there is a basic level of analytics that is performed almost, essentially almost by every organization. So let's describe these different levels of HR analytics. Usually, HR analytics level are divided in three categories, and the majority of the organization, they only implement the basic level of HR analytics, which is the descriptive analytics, descriptive level of HR analytics. We have these three levels, which are descriptive, predictive, prescriptive analytics. And organizations implement this level according to what kind of task are performing, and what kind of capability they have, what kind of investment they put into the HR analytics capability and development. So when we talk about descriptive analytics, it is the uses of data in order to simply illustrate aspects of HR. So, for example, absenteeism, simply to describe all data like annual leave or recruitment rates. At this level, organization do not carry out any kind of analysis, strictly speaking. So they only represent data, and data are only a means to describe a given concept or illustrating a given evolution over time, let's say a trend of absenteeism. But it is only this level of analytics which is performed by the majority of organizations implementing HR analytics, neither officially doing so, simply to describe a trend, to an observed when we observe an event, a phenomena, and then we use data to describe this phenomena, to illustrate this phenomena. Today we had this quarter, we had recruitment rate or an absenteeism rate of X percentage, or we had this X given resignation rate throughout this year, and so on. Predictive analytics instead, the next step is the use of data to predict future scenarios in order to inform HR strategy according to business needs. So it's a step much more evolved. Predictive analytics for forecasting purposes requires particular skills and capabilities, and especially high quality of data. So if there are no high quality of data, necessary quality of data feeding our predictive analytics process, it became a flawed process, which will lead us to make almost surely wrong decision, wasting money, failing. So when we do predictive analytics, we use data to predict future potential scenarios. The third level of HR analytics is prescriptive analytics. So it's something that goes a step beyond the prediction, and is something that stems from description and prediction. So this is the highest, the most advanced way we can use analytics within our HR analytics processes. And in doing so, we implement mathematical or computational sciences to define, to design our decision options. Not only with this, we also the prescriptive analytics process through this organization also obtain information about the kind of actions they needed to pursue the targets they had set. So they have a sort of full background about not only the strategy, but they have a prediction of the possible result obtaining and the consequence of the implemented actions on other aspects of the businesses. So it's a very interesting and deep matter. Therefore, when we use prescriptive analytics, not only we make prediction, but we only obtain information on what to do to get there. It's not only, okay, we have this prediction, we have this possible 2-3 scenarios, so we have these likely scenarios that we want to deal with due to the observation of these two events that shows a strong correlation. Now, what do we do? With prescriptive analytics, we also receive the what do we do answer and the impact of our action on other related matter. So as you can see, it's a very, very advanced level. It's the most advanced level of HR analytics. Of course, here the level of capabilities is required is quite high, investment and also potential return of investment. If an organization cannot make, in order to, for instance, hiring, can you see how everything is connected within the HR management is such a broad functions, but there is nothing that is not connected with each other. Can you see now, for instance, the investment in hiring data scientists, to do to carry out the level of analytics we need. We won't suggest our organization hiring data scientists to do descriptive analytics, because we just train our workforce and normal line manager people without skill to do descriptive analytics or basic predictive analytics. We don't assume the star in a data scientist. Data scientist salary, I think today in London, data scientists easily they get 80,000, 100,000 pounds every year. So they are a kind of profile extremely required. I saw adverts for data scientists with really impressive. As we are talking about money earned at the board level within organization. So can you see how everything is related? So we have to understand what we do, what we need when we approach HR analytics, especially because often when we talk about HR analytics, we are talking with people, even senior managers, that they don't really know what HR analytics, stands for, or especially old generation of people, with a different approach in data matter. So HR analytic strategy, where after having outlined the background of main factors of HR analytics, let's briefly discuss of HR analytics strategy, because of course, HR analytics requires having a strategy as part of our strategic human resource management decisions or HR strategy as a whole. The first thing to say is that despite it may be quite obvious, we have to start from the fact that HR professionals are called to define analytics activity in a way that they are aligned to both the HR strategy and the business strategy. This is something you as HR professionals, or as generally speaking as a manager, you will also deal with this kind of issue. Unrelatedness between activities, HR in HR field, the HR function. So people start in organization, you see many standalone activities, and this will be discussed also within the well-being activities that we will treat later. Often you will deal with situations like that. Activities are no supportive, are no aligned, are no, there is no element of cohesion between activities, and therefore they are deemed to fail. They are deemed to represent waste of money and time, because they do not represent a part of a overall, of a holistic strategy. And therefore we need to, that our HR analytics strategy fits into the HR strategy and the business strategy. We don't start doing HR analytics, okay, let's see today whether our absenteeism rate is, because maybe absenteeism rate is no part of the, now it's not a business pain. Or let's do analytics, and you start to investigate area in a standalone basis that do not support the HR strategy or the business strategy. So therefore, the main aspect is that we need to define analytics activity in a way that they fit within the HR strategy and within, in its turn, the overall business strategy. Let's summarize the main objectives of HR analytics strategy, what the main objectives should be. So the first one is supporting the organizational leader in making informed decision. When we do analytics, we want to talk to our senior managers, the organization. We are, for instance, HR business partners, HR director of department, or we want to feed the strategic decision with evidence-based information and recommendation. So one of the main objectives is supporting organizational leader in making informed decision. Second, we want to increase the efficiency of HR functions. And this is strictly related with, the core of the source of HR analytics, which are workforce data. So we want to increase our efficiency of HR function. We want that HR functions are not longer, like it was probably many years ago, or they still in some organization, activities, the HR functions lead to activities not really, difficult to prove, investigate in terms of the effectiveness, the return of investment produced by HR activities. I don't know in your organization, but it's really common that you don't really understand what's the contribution of the entire HR department is, and you don't really understand if it's a negative contribution, because we can't give for granted that the HR department, instead of promoting and making, promoting performance and the increase of performance, HR department may easily have a negative effect on performance and on culture, especially on culture of the organization. So HR analytics is particularly useful in order to increase the efficiency of HR functions and measuring the effectiveness of HR function. So, organization, now that we are in this sort of transition, but soon organization will be much more aware. Now only few leading and wealthy organization, they are extremely aware, but when everybody will be particularly familiar and expert of what analytics can do and how easily sometimes analytics can do, HR function will be really put under the lens much more than now, because there will be spread of means to understand if really our department is efficient, and which degree of efficient our department shows. I told you there is nothing easy. There is nothing easier in an organization. The HR department can lead to damages instead of positive result and impact, especially on organizational culture. So this is really it's easy, you know, and the all controversial debates around HR is due probably because of this. You know, it's easy that we turn from giving contribution to people performance, behavioral learning, and strictly speaking, productivity performance, we turn in affecting negatively people life, culture, and performance as HR managers, HR directors, and business partners. So we must be aware of it. And HR analytics is a crucial topic in what will be our daily activity in the next imminent future. It is already indeed. So now let's describe very briefly, since we are going a bit over as a kind of predicted, the different steps that should compose HR analytics process. Of course, this is not prescriptive, but they are steps that should inform more or less, you know, any HR analytics process. The first is to plan. So we need to define, when we do and design a HR analytics strategy, and we need to define, first of all, what our target is and what is the scope of implementing analytics initiatives. This also involves stakeholder analysis in order to understand the requirements that the analytics process should be ready to fulfill. The second step is to identify what our KPIs are. So we need to define what would be the elements indicating that we are succeeding or not in implementing our analytics process. What would be those parameters proving the initiative that our initiatives succeeded? For instance, time-based parameters, targets, etc. And we must be clear. You know, we must be clear on this, because we don't forget that everything of this turn, you know, is around being evidence-based. So we need to identify, clarify, and communicate what the indicator of performance of our HR analytics process will be. Then data check, data audit. Data are at core, at basis of the analytics process. Therefore, the availability and quality must constantly checked, especially before we embark in an analytics strategy and process. So we need to know whether we have the right amount of data, quantitative, under the quantitative and qualitative point of view. And we need to check constantly the quality and quantity of available data throughout our process. Then resource allocation and generally speaking, identification of resource. This implies to define roles and responsibility together with identify the resource requirements and mapping the stakeholders' instances for the project. So stating who does what within our process, attributing clear tasks and roles. Again, identify and establishing the strategy in data collection. So we said the difference between data according to their nature. We saw things like, for instance, difference between correlation and causation, but now it's about we are going to collecting data. What kind of strategy we use, we define, and this depends from the data derived from sources that are previously identified, and these kind of sources, they should respond to the business issue to address. They as we said, may be of quantitative or qualitative nature, for instance, absence records, survey regarding job satisfaction, things like that. And we need to have a clear strategy in order to collect this data. What kind of data are we looking for? How we get this data? Next, analyzing data, and this depending on the our clients' requirements, internal or external clients, analyzing the data and developing insight in form of recommendations and guidance for the users of data. So this is the aim of analyzing our data. According to this, we will develop insights, we will draw recommendations. Then we need to report this data. The main aspect of reporting is clarity. So clarity and simplicity. Data must be illustration of data is a really part of the HR analytic process of really utmost importance, because if we are not able to report this data in a clear way, understandable way for our stakeholders, everything we have done before as really it became meaningless. So it's important that we communicate our data, we report our data in a clear and simple way, illustrating solution to the issue, business pain or business issue that we are called to address through our process, or regarding further areas of investigation or further data source requirements, meaning in giving our recommendation. So it's important, fundamental, the ability of reporting data in a clear and simple way. So using the right kind of graphics, using the right of communication, this is an aspect that it must not be underestimated at all. Lastly, we should monitoring our process. So we should review and evaluate what kind of impact derived from the implemented process, and we need to update, our process. We need to update and to upgrade, if anything, if is needed, our HR analytics capabilities. So the last bit is evaluation and monitoring, which is, part of more or less, any HR process. We are always called to monitoring and evaluating our activity. We cannot carry out activities and then forget to give an evaluation of our activity in order to, I don't know, within project management, borrowing terms from project management field, feeling a lesson learned part of our book. So now let's have a little break of 5 minutes. But before, I would like to hear from you your thought, and if whether there is something you would like to share, if you found this topic interesting, what's happening in your own organization, Quasi, Felix, Terra, Yasser. Do you have something to share, Budjo, something to ask in terms of clarification, something that you would like to expand? What's happening in your own reality in terms of data? How advanced is your department, or how interested is your organization in analytics? Are you experiencing this transition? Do you feel to be in that your organization is there or is getting there in terms of HR analytics? Quasi, Felix.
Yeah.
Quasi.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Good to
How are
hear
you?
you. I'm very well. And you? How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing
Great.
well.
Great. Happy to
Yeah.
hear that.
I've just listened to you, but HR analytics, I think it could be costly to an organization. I mean, if you really want to implement it, then of course, in terms of costs, it's going to be costly. And most organizations, you have to do the cost benefit analysis of this strategy to see whether it's worth it undertaking it. So I think most companies, depending on their strategy, it is something that the cost implication could put a lot of companies off, because linking HR strategy to analytics to the business strategy, most people, especially where I work, especially in the civil service, we will not see the benefit as such, or how it's going to add value or increase the economic value of the organization. Because we only look at we only look at the data that we need, the information we need. We not look. But if you analyze what you are saying, for instance, if you want to, you can use HR analytics to even look at revenue generation and minimizing cost, because it will help you to, it will help in revenue generation. Definitely. If there's a new business subsidiary or model that you want to adopt, a business segment, and you want to recruit more people, or you want to train more people to handle that model, you need to analyze to see the cost of maybe the retraining. And it's all coming out from the HR analytics. So you need to see that if you want to move staff from the existing to a new model, you need to retrain them. So you need to be able to compute the cost, and then also see the business model, what revenue is bringing in. So you need to do all this cost analysis. But in most small organizations and in the civil service, we don't do this. We look at the cost and we won't even do it. We only move people from one unit to another unit without even thinking about the cost of retraining them to fit into the new business model. We hardly do that. We want to call some few, move people straight away. But I think it's a good thing if we are able to do that. Then we'll see whether we should retrain people internally or even recruit people from outside. If you don't do this analysis, you just decide that, oh, let me just move 3 or 4 people or 6 people from this unit straight to this other unit. But I think it's a very good thing if companies are able to do it, or even the civil service. If you are able to do it. In the civil service, it's very difficult to quantify the benefit, because we are service delivery. You are not profit earning organizations, but it will still help anyway if you are able to do that. So it's a good thing anyway. I've just learned something a little bit about it, and I think it's a good thing that we do.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this with us. You touched a delicate point, the return of investment, and let me add something on top of what you say in terms of challenging to the introduction of this approach and the justification of investments regarding HR analytics process. There is skills shortages around regarding people with analytical skill and capability. Today getting data scientists and stuff is not easy. And these people are highly required. Big problem of skill shortages. On top of the difficulties of justifying the return of investment and showing the return of investment. Again, we HR are called to understand whether there will be a justification, and the 3 levels we discussed earlier of 3 levels of descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. They implies different kind of investments and costs in HR analytics capabilities or business analytics capabilities, generally speaking. Therefore, we have to at least give our contribution in terms of making the organization aware of what may be the advantages, what kind of cost in terms of management cost and salaries cost and every other kind of cost may impact on it. But the important thing is that we are aware and we make aware our organization. You know, our organizations cannot say, okay, you didn't, you know, we can't risk that we organization, someone comes proposing, you know, HR to introduce analytics within HR processes, and we, you know, this comes out of the blue. So we need to be aware, regardless now our organization, I think, this is my opinion. We implement, I think more or less every organization will get there. Also because automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, we allow easier ways. So analytics will be much more easier and less cost impacting in organization in the near future because of the evolution. We are talking about, you know, computation, all this kind of matter, they evolve in an impressive rate. So we must be ready in understanding the human angle, the human side, what we as a human we play in terms of managing analytics. And this will require the ability of analyzing the environment, analyzing our organization, these needs, the organizational needs, the workforce. So this, you know, computers, they and artificial intelligence will not get, you know, are not yet there. We are still a crucial part, you know, of this kind of decisions. So we need to be aware about HR analytics, and we need to inform our senior manager. We need to be on track regarding HR analytics because it's a reality, you know. And now I do absolutely agree with you regarding the fact that many organizations, they are not interested in it because they can't see, they can't smell what kind of results. Sometimes you know, it happens that there may be, but they don't know. And again, our role is to get them there, is to make this you know, known. So if we feel that there is a business case to be built around this, let's put it on, you know, let's put it on the senior manager's table. And then, of course, you know, resource allocation and decision is not about HR under the business strategy point of view. It's not about HR. HR is a supportive strategy, is a supportive, activities within the business value chain. So we portray the scenario, but the decision of investing in this matter is about senior managers. So it's up to them. The important thing is that we are ready. It's important that we are familiar with this. We know what HR analytics is, what we can do, what competitors do with HR analytics. And we can even invent things, you know, in order to minimize cost. For instance, sharing services may be an idea in order to cut costs, but taking our organization to another level. So anyway, okay. I do agree with you. I do agree with you. But okay. This shouldn't stop. This is an interesting and is a hot topic. We must be really with our radar active because it may be kind of, and it is kind of disruptive. The introduction of HR analytics within this process. And quasi what is the trend is that we are continuously questioned. You know, HR, there's a kind of rate of turnover of HR director within the organization because it's difficult to show the results of HR processes, and we are questioned. We are more and more than ever questioned, especially because now in this data-driven world, everyone won't say yes. So what? You know, where are the results? Show me the numbers. Show me the figures. This is you know something that is impacting more and more on our role as HR profession. Show me the figures. And when we get there, they don't want to see beautiful, you know, presentation full of word. They want to see numbers, and they want to see processes showing that those numbers are reliable. Then I would say, of course, the decision is about the board, is about senior managers, and they can decide whatever they want. Anyway, great. Thank you very much to share with you. And I absolutely agree with you. And there may be cases in which this is not justified. That's it. You know, investment in particular skills or HR. There may be cases like this. There may be by small organization, or you know, or a limited justification in investment. Yes, there may be. Definitely. Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Any other? Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, Sergio.
Hi.
It's raining down here in the Midlands.
Yeah, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So it's raining here as well. It's raining and
Yes.
windy, and particularly windy. Yeah.
Yes. In terms of analytics,
Yeah.
you know, I've seen the benefits in our company,
Mhm,
although they are not aware, but I can see it's happening. For instance, in terms of quantitative analysis, last month, for instance, we employed 17 people, and 18 people left the company, for instance, which
18,
is
18 or 8
18, and then we recruited 17, and
Oh.
then 18 people left. So across the whole business. So this week we had a meeting. We want to find out what's going on.
Wait, it wasn't a voluntary turnover. It was an unplanned turnover.
Yeah, people have left for various reasons.
Big challenge.
Big challenge. So the company is looking at critically exit interviews.
Qualitative data.
Qualitative data. We know the quantitative data, which is the numbers, but we wanted to find out in terms of the qualitative aspect,
now,
why are people leaving?
Yeah, now look, you know, how interesting and important is dealing with awareness about qualitative data, for instance, because imagine the biases affecting managers potentially involved in responsibility, why these people left. So if we don't act on biases in analyzing this qualitative data, we can get a totally misleading result. The way people left, you know, so how challenging this process is, and how crucial the quality of data and the ability of interpreting data is. Because interpreting data doesn't come naturally, you know, it's something that we have to aware of in terms of technical skill. You know, how do we conduct a research, a qualitative research? It really is something really close to, you know, a dissertation at master level. We are doing exactly the same. You know, when we have done our dissertation, what we have done in terms of data analysis, what kind of techniques we implemented, you know, is something really strongly connected with academics matter, and there are skills to be developed. There are skills. Otherwise, we can have all the data available, which is not easy, because usually employees, they are a bit reluctant in releasing exit interview for many reasons, because they don't want to break completely the relation, or because they don't have any minimum interest anymore in neither in contributing, giving information. You know what? I am quitting. I don't want neither see you again, hear of you again. This is unfortunately is what happens in the reality of the business. So it's very difficult getting not only good quality of data from the exiting interview, but is difficult to get in the exit interview as you know as a whole. Is not easy. Is precious material. You know, when you get exit interview, is precious material. But again, the interpretation of data and the questionnaire composing the exit interview, imagine people that when people leave, in the main cases, they are angry with the organization. So they may, you know, kind of emphasizing issues and stuff. And again, you said 18 people are large percentage, you know, comparing to the people hired left. So combination of quantitative and qualitative data, mixed methods, the so-called mixed data in research, again, they require particular skills in order to mix these two methodology, which is qualitative data analysis and quantitative data analysis. Again, we are talking about skills, so it's important because now you have material, you have good material, you have precious material, which are exit interview. We have quantitative and qualitative data, but are we able to use this data properly in an appropriate way? And here business analytics comes into playing an important role. Here our ability, and this is why we need to develop ability in wrangling, you know, with the world of data, because you know, it's fundamental. Now the way sorry, tell me.
Yeah, so you know, so what in the meeting which was on Tuesday, basically the managers were trying to profile reasons why there's quite people are leaving. One of the reasons is COVID, because during the last year or two, people have been working excessively hard, you know, in the care industry, because we are in the care industry. People have been working long hours of shift, overtime, a lot of stress, you know. So it got to the point that COVID is now releasing. They are very tired and they are very, you know, really, really exhausted. So people are seeking passive as one of the reasons. Another reason we looked at was the remuneration, as you talked about in the last lecture.
Yeah.
How are they remunerated well? You know, so there's a current benchmarking ongoing between our organization and looking at other similar organizations, how much they are paying with compared to how much we pay. And we also look at another factor, which is how well are we nurturing the people? When we recruit them, are we nurturing them well in the company? Are they having good induction, for instance? Are they being supervised well, for instance?
You know,
so
challenging, really very, very challenging factor. Felix, don't worry, I saw you. We will soon let you speak. Yes, these are very. No. That's great. That's great. And you know, what can I say? Really interesting matter, especially. You know, now it's not about be critical, because I think your sector was the most challenged one. You know, in terms of commitment of people. You know, people put their life forward, you know, in order to really something that we can neither describe, the level of pressure undergone within the care sector. It is also, you said, you know, you relate this with what we said earlier about flexibility, about, you know, all the matter we discussed so far. The ultimate goal is not to get where your organization is now, understanding now what should have done in terms of recognition. This is a process that should have become before, and now we weren't probably dealing with 20 people leaving, only 3 or 4 or 5, and we will see this, how this is related with the next topic, which is well-being, and how well-being is becoming a crucial, the key component of every human resource management activity, especially as a result of COVID experience we had last year. But you know, again, very, very interesting, challenging, and I wish you that your organization would be able to address this issue, part of which we can deny, also probably, you know, really related with part related with situation. Part of this issue are difficult probably to avoid, but again, in terms of workforce planning, flexibility, and the ability of managing people in difficult way, and improving their resilience. So these are all things that at some point they emerge, you know, within the fact. So you see now 20 people are leaving because probably they are going to work in other for competitors, or probably they are
less challenging environments, maybe.
Less challenging environment. Imagine they probably now are working within the retail, for instance, that is picking up retail, and you probably will pay, I don't know, for a care assistant. I think, as far as I'm aware, is
£9.
kind of
£9.
Okay. I thought roughly 7, but you know, let's say the national minimum wage is, I think, is about £7-8 per hour.
About £8.
You know, you can work somewhere else. You can work without that level of pressure, risks, you know. And that's is here he comes, you know, people development, career management, recognition, no financial rewards. Yeah, great. So
yeah,
very good stuff.
Final contribution from me. Despite that, our organization posted large profits. So in correlation to the difficulties, profit was high, and then we have given people pay rise, you know, across the whole board.
That's great. That's great. But again, financial reward, which are really the highest, the main form of motivation, must be combined with non-financial reward. You know, people will always find a solution to earn more. But what makes the difference? Money is money everywhere. You know, pounds, pounds everywhere. But the recognition and the joy of employees for working for an organization, these are unique traits of organization. This is what makes the difference within organization. And especially, you know what, Yasser, very, very critical, and we will see in the next topic, well-being and line management behavior. For this is by far the most important factor, and the principal reason for people quitting their relation with line manager. This is still really hard topic for HR manager. Line managerial behavior in managing people is still the main reason for people to quit. So thank you very much. Thank you, Yasser. Thank you. That definitely absolutely interesting hear from you these points. So Felix, please.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank to you. Thank you.
I think you and Yesa, you really made some very interesting points, especially the fact that we need to blend or take into consideration the qualitative and the quantitative data. I work in the higher education sector, and there, the researchers and especially the lecturers, they are under pressure to publish papers and scientific papers, and not everyone wants to publish. So it becomes a problem because some want to be like good teachers or lecturers without doing a lot of research, while others want to do a lot of research and they get a lot of credit in terms of promotion. And that is a major challenge in terms of human resource management.
Yeah, it's also about people, in terms of academic path and doing research. is also about be motivating in investigating a matter. So if you don't have interest in that matter, it's really difficult to carry out a research in something that you do only because of your institution requires to do, but you don't have interest in it. So really one of the strong motivational factor in education and academic path is the involvement in studies for which you are passionate. So what do you think, Felix? May this be?
No, I think that's true. For me, that's it's important for all academics to be involved in research.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes it gets intimidating for others, and I can recognize that a lot of people struggle with that. So they'll prefer not to get into the competition of publishing or writing papers because it needs a lot of extra work, and sometimes they are worried because they feel they are not getting the recognition. They may not become professors or associate professors, and that is a big challenge, when you work in that environment.
Yeah, I know exactly. Sometimes the higher education sector may be a bit ruthless and high competitive, and the level of toxicity may affect people's life. Consider that today's the level of mental health issue deriving from within PhD paths, for instance, is still quite high. It's very high. People suffering from mental health issues during their PhD is very high. And this is something that the higher education and especially advanced educational provider and institutions, they are aware of, and big steps are implemented from some educational provider in terms of preventing this kind of issue, which are really spread within this sector. So definitely, if you look at data about PhD and mental health related conditions, still kind of worrying. So I do understand what you mean, and here the human touch and human resource management awareness in terms of implementing right measure for this kind of issue is absolutely required, in terms of workload and psychological impact. We will see soon about well-being, what kind of things are required, and how well-being is becoming the central aspect of our activity. So thank you, Felix. Thank you.